It started with the dishwasher. Yeah, of all things. The old GE model had been acting up for a while, groaning, leaking, doing everything except washing dishes. But that night, it just hummed. Worked perfectly, like nothing had ever been wrong. And somehow, that bugged me more than if it had flooded the whole kitchen. Linda walked in wearing that tired smile, the one she used for coworkers and the mailman. Not me. Never me. She had this way of moving around the house like she was passing through someone else's life. We'd been married 11 years, which apparently is the exact amount of time it takes for someone to get good at pretending. She asked how my day was, just as her phone buzzed on the counter. Didn't even glance at it. Just picked it up, silenced it, and shoved it into her purse like it was a grocery receipt. Then back to the dishwasher. It's fixed now, I think. Must have just needed a reset. A reset? Sure. I nodded and opened the fridge, pretending to hunt for a soda while watching her in the reflection off the stainless steel. I didn't need to see the screen. I didn't need to hear a name. I already knew something was off. But it wasn't what she did that tipped me off. It was what she stopped doing. Linda used to laugh at my dumb jokes. Not anymore. Used to leave sticky notes in my lunch. Little drawings of cactuses, corny puns like, your nacho average husband. Gone. She used to ask me to kill spiders, even though she was the brave one. Now she handled them herself. They don't talk about that part in marriage books. How the absence of someone can feel louder than any fight. She'd been working late more. With Kyle, her new project manager, who apparently needed 2-hour Zooms and after-hours whiteboarding sessions to figure out what the rest of us mortals can solve in a regular meeting. I never asked too much. Didn't want to be that guy. I trusted her, and more importantly, I thought she trusted me. But the silence between us had grown dense enough to choke on. The real kicker? We never fought. Not even once. We'd become so civil it was disturbing. Two perfectly functional roommates. We had a joint calendar, joint bills, joint Amazon account. Everything was running smoothly. And yet, something was broken. Something wasn't syncing anymore. The first time I considered she might be cheating, I didn't believe it. Not because she wouldn't, but because she wasn't the type to be that obvious. Linda was surgical. The kind of person who'd hide Christmas gifts in May and write decoy clues in her planner just to throw me off. So if she was cheating, I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to catch her with lipstick on a collar or a surprise hotel receipt. That wasn't Linda. She didn't make mistakes. But I couldn't shake it. The look in her eyes when I mentioned our anniversary dinner. The way she laughed just a little too loud at my cousin Dylan's stupid story at Easter, like she needed to prove something. And the dishwasher. Fixed, humming, spotless, when she had supposedly called a repair guy I never saw. That's when I started paying attention. Real attention. I started keeping a little notebook. Nothing dramatic. No tracking her every move or anything crazy. Just patterns. The days she worked late. The days she was suddenly too tired for dinner. The way she changed her phone's lock screen. Not to something suspicious, but just enough to be different. I didn't go through her phone. I didn't need to. The data was in the patterns. And somewhere between those notes, a picture started forming. Not a clear one. More like a jigsaw with missing pieces. But I could see the outline. Here's the thing. I'm not a genius. I'm not a detective. I sell HVAC systems to small businesses in a 3-county radius. I drive a 2012 Ford Explorer, and my idea of luxury is an oil change that doesn't require a coupon. But I do know people. I know when they're phoning it in. I know when a deal's about to fall through. And my marriage? It was already halfway out the door. But I wasn't going to accuse her. Not yet. Because if Linda was cheating, she wasn't going to tell me. She'd wait until she had her next move locked in. She wasn't a confessor. She was a planner. And if she thought I was still clueless, she'd keep making mistakes. So I let the dishwasher hum. I let her come home late. I played the role. The reliable husband. The guy who didn't know a damn thing. Because sometimes, the best way to catch someone lying is to pretend you believe them. And I was about to believe her all the way into the biggest trap I'd ever set. You know what's underrated? Paper. Real paper. Not some app. Not a cloud-synced calendar or AI planned to-do list. Actual physical paper. That's what finally cracked it open. A forgotten piece of yellow legal pad stuck to the bottom of a printer tray. I wasn't even looking for anything. That's the funny part. It was a Thursday afternoon. I'd come home early from a job in Winchester. Some cranky bakery owner had canceled last minute over a permit delay, so I figured I'd finally fix the paper jam in the home printer that Linda had been complaining about for a week. The thing was flashing an angry trait error message, and Linda had muttered something about ordering a new one online, but never did. So I popped the top, wiggle out the jammed cartridge, and there it is, wedged way in the back, folded once, edge chewed like it had been trapped a while. Looked like a shipping label at first, but when I unfolded it, I saw the first few scribbled words and froze. It was a list. Not grocery, not work tasks. It was titled, Things to Say If It Comes Up. I didn't move for a good 30 seconds. It had Linda's handwriting, no doubt about it. Tight cursive, that little dramatic loop she does on lowercase ls. A draft. Not for a work script or a pitch. For a conversation. Bullet points. Things like, we grew apart over the last couple years. You've been distracted, John. You stopped trying. I didn't mean for it to happen. It just did. It was never about him. It was about me. There were more, but by then my pulse was already in my ears. I stared at the paper like it might rewrite itself if I blinked enough. My first instinct was denial. Maybe it was something she wrote for a friend, maybe for a client going through a separation. But Linda's not that type. She doesn't get involved, doesn't play therapist. And then I saw a line scribbled at the bottom. Stick to the plan. Don't offer details. That's what snapped me out of it. Now, I didn't scream, didn't storm through the house, waving the note like some dramatic TV husband. I slid it into my jacket pocket and sat down. I actually laughed a little, a dry, humorless thing. I'd been right. Not just about the cheating, about the kind of person Linda had become. She was planning to break up like it was a corporate layoff. With talking points, I poured myself a glass of that terrible peach iced tea she keeps buying and sat on the patio, watching the wind mess up our patio umbrella. The yard looked nice. She'd been asking about redoing the garden beds. I thought about the fact that she wanted to landscape the backyard while simultaneously drafting a breakup script. The sheer casualness of it all. That night, I played normal. We ate dinner, leftover meatloaf, her idea of cooking lately, and watched an episode of some detective show where the husband murders the wife. Ironic, in a bleak way. She sat beside me on the couch like everything was fine. She even laughed at one point, that soft nasal chuckle she does when she thinks something's smarter than it really is. I didn't bring up the note. Not yet. Instead, I started listening. Closely. The next few days I became a different man. Not outwardly, but behind my eyes. I was clocking every beat of her story. Where she said she was. When she left. When she came home. How long her showers lasted. When she didn't bring up her workday. And slowly, little cracks formed. Monday, she said she had a strategy lunch with the firm's creative director. Only later, I noticed she'd left her employee badge on the kitchen table all day, which you'd need to badge into the parking garage. Wednesday, she claimed she had a 6 p.m. call with a branding agency in Denver. But her laptop was still open on the dining table when I came home at 6:30, lid wide open, screen asleep. Friday, she left in workout gear. Said she was going to the gym. When I checked the laundry later, casually, like folding, the leggings were still folded in the drawer. Tag still on them. Brand new. Never worn. The woman couldn't keep her own story straight. Still, I waited. Because I knew there would be something bigger. Something that would fall into my lap if I just let her believe she was winning. Cheaters always get lazy when they think they're smarter than you. That something came from our accountant. His name's Terry, lives 2 streets over, a fast-talking guy with a thinning hairline and a gold pin he polishes like it's Excalibur. We use him for our taxes every year. Normally, everything is filed electronically, no fuss. But Linda had mailed something paper this year, and he got confused, said there were double entries for a 1099 that didn't match our usual records. He called me directly. Hey John, weird question, are you doing some consulting on the side? I said no. Well, he said, tapping keys on his end, then I'm not sure why you've got a $4,200 direct deposit marked under your name from Veritas Creative. They filed a 1099 in your name, but I don't see it in your actual income. Thought I'd check. My heart did a full stop. Linda had done freelance work in the past, branding contracts. So I asked Terry to send me a copy of the filing. And there it was, a 1099 in my name, to our joint bank account, filed by Veritas Creative, the same firm where Kyle, her project manager, worked. Only I'd never worked for them. Never signed anything. Never even heard from them. I dug deeper. Checked the bank statements. The money had landed 2 months ago. Linda never mentioned it. And just 5 days after the deposit, a withdrawal, $3,000, labeled private event venue reservation. I stared at that for a long time. She had faked a contract in my name, moved money through our joint account, used it to pay for something. I didn't want to guess. I wanted to know. So I did something that took every ounce of self-control I had. I asked her, casually, over coffee. Hey, I said, Terry called about a weird 1099. Something from Veritas Creative. She blinked once. Oh, that must have been for that brand audit I told you about. You said Kyle was doing the brand audit. She smiled. Right. I mean, he looped me in. You know how those things get. It was perfect. Seamless. Almost believable. Except for one thing. She thought I was too dumb to remember her own lie. I nodded. Got it. But I didn't drop it. I emailed Kyle. From a burner Gmail account I made in 10 seconds. Posed as a small business owner looking for branding help. Asked if he still worked at Veritas, and if he was taking on side projects. Kyle replied within the hour. Polite, friendly. Actually, I left Veritas 6 months ago. Moved to a new role at a different firm. 6 months ago. And yet the 1099, with Veritas's name, had come through just 8 weeks back. She'd forged the whole damn thing. And she had no idea I knew. So here's what I had. A fake client invoice in my name. A $3,000 venue reservation paid from that. A list of talking points about how to spin a breakup. A wife who thought she was playing chess while I was still setting up checkers. I wasn't mad. Not anymore. I'd moved past that. I was ready. Linda had no clue what was coming. Because when someone shows you they're a liar, the worst thing you can do is confront them too soon. It's better to let them finish building the lie, than knock the whole damn thing over in one clean hit. You ever watch someone rehearse a lie so many times they start to believe it? It's wild. They fine-tune the pauses, the eye contact, the breath they take before the key phrase. It's not what you think. I'd seen it before in sales. I've seen guys try to pitch faulty HVAC units with the confidence of a TED Talk speaker. Linda had that same polish, that same condescending calm. But what she didn't know, what made all the difference, is that I wasn't her audience anymore. The morning of the confrontation, I made her coffee. That was the first tip-off. I don't do coffee. I'm more of a gas station energy drink guy. But she liked it with a splash of oat milk and a pinch of cinnamon. She used to joke it made her feel cozy. I handed it to her while she was still half asleep in that faded college hoodie she always wore when she needed to look innocent. She looked at the mug like it was ticking. You're being sweet, she said, squinting. Did something happen? Just felt like it. I replied, sliding into the chair across from her. Thought we should talk. You've been distracted lately. She froze for half a second. It was microscopic, but it was there. Her left hand clutched the mug a little tighter. Her eyebrows barely moved, just enough to register fake concern. Distracted? She said, head tilted. You know, distant. Quiet. Like you're somewhere else. Linda took a sip of the coffee and gave the softest nod. Work's been a lot. Kyle's pushing hard on the rebrand. And honestly, I think I'm just burned out. Sure, I said. But burned out from what exactly? Work? Me? This house? She blinked. Another micropause. Is this about the schedule again? She asked. Because I've told you. I'm just trying to keep my head above water right now. I'm not trying to push you away. That's good, I said. Because I have something I want to share. I got up slowly, walked over to the cabinet above the fridge, the one where we keep the warranty binders, spare keys, and all the boring paperwork couples forget about until something breaks. I pulled out a small black folder I'd tucked in there the night before. She watched me, stiff, still playing calm, but her pupils were locked on the folder like it might explode. What's that? She asked. I've been organizing some things, I said. Thought we could go over a few financial oddities. I laid the folder on the table and slid a few sheets out. The 1099 from Veritas, the bank statement showing the deposit, and the withdrawal for the $3,000. And the cherry on top, a printout of the email from Kyle stating he hadn't worked at Veritas in 6 months. I watched her study them. She didn't even touch the papers. Just scanned them like she was trying to figure out what I knew versus what I was bluffing. When she looked up, her face had shifted. No more burned-out wife. No more casual excuses. She went flat. Corporate. Like she was back in a boardroom negotiating a hostile merger. I can explain, she said. You don't need to. I didn't do anything illegal, she added quickly, like that would help. That 1099 was a placeholder. I was experimenting with freelance branding under your name too. To what? I asked. To shuffle money through our joint account and book a venue without telling me? That one landed. She sat back in the chair like it pushed her. What venue? She asked. Oh, don't do that. You know exactly what venue. It's not the kind of place you reserve for a book club. She exhaled slowly, then took a sip of her coffee. She was buying time. But time had run out. I found the note too, by the way, I said casually. Your little script. Her eyes narrowed. What script? Things to say if it comes up. That one. She didn't answer. It's cute, I added, planning for my reactions in advance. I guess you figured if you rehearsed the breakup enough, it wouldn't matter how I felt about it. She stood up, slowly, mug still in hand. John. No. Sit down, I said. Not a yell. Not a threat. Just firm. Measured. She froze. That was new. For the first time in maybe a year, I had her off script. I want to know, I said, who he is. She didn't answer. I waited. Kyle. I guessed. She flinched. You said it wasn't him, I continued. But I figured I'd ask again. See if your story evolved. Linda looked at the window like it might open a portal to escape through. You were always so careful, I said. So methodical. I admire that, really. Most people cheat in messy, obvious ways. You ran a side operation. Scripted. Structured. Almost impressive, really. Her voice came out low, clipped. I didn't want to hurt you. That's funny. Because you made a spreadsheet for it. She didn't respond. Just stood there, arms crossed, blinking slow like she was resetting. So what's the plan, Linda? You break it off once you get your financials in place. Let me carry the bills a few more months while you organize your exit strategy. I wasn't trying to do it like this. You weren't trying to get caught. That's what you mean. She sat back down. Finally. I didn't know how to leave, she said. It's not just about him. I haven't been happy in a long time. No kidding, I said. You replaced our anniversary dinner with a whiteboard session. I wasn't planning to cheat, she said, quieter now. It happened slowly. And the forgery? That happened slowly too. She looked at the table. Here's the deal, I said. I'm not going to scream. I'm not going to post about it. You don't deserve that kind of drama. But I am going to leave you with a very clear choice. She looked up, cautious. You tell me what you've been planning. Honestly, start to finish. Or I'll take what I've got and let your firm's HR department deal with the forged 1099 and misused company resources. That got her. Her mouth opened, then closed. I've got it all printed, I added. And a copy went to a safe email. Just in case. I never meant for it to go this far, she whispered. Sure you did, I said. You just didn't think I'd figure it out. She looked down at her coffee again, then finally said it. It was Kyle. I didn't move. We reconnected at that conference in Phoenix last year. It started off innocent. Late nights, hotel bars, venting. Then it got complicated. You didn't even like him, I said. You used to call him a windbag with a podcast voice. She actually smiled at that. Yeah, well, turns out I like windbags. And the $3,000 venue. She hesitated. We were going to start a consulting firm. A branding agency. He's already left Veritas. I told him I'd bankroll our launch. With my name. She had the decency to look embarrassed. You know what's funny? I said. If you had just said you were bored, I might have understood. But you took something dull, middle-aged cheating, and made it complicated, expensive, and boring as hell. Linda said nothing. I'm not stopping you from leaving, I said finally. You want him? Go. But you won't lie to me again. Not to my face. Not behind my back. Not on paper. And you sure as hell won't use my name to fund your escape hatch. What do you want me to do? She asked quietly. Oh, don't worry. I've got plans. And she knew, from the way I said it, that the next part wouldn't be as quiet. I didn't sleep that night. Not out of heartbreak or rage. Those had already burned themselves out, but out of sheer clarity. It's weird how betrayal sharpens everything. I saw my life like a house someone else had been quietly redecorating for months. Swapping photos. Moving furniture. One day you look up and realize it's not yours anymore. Well, I wanted my house back. My life. But not by begging. Not by burning it all down. I wanted to rebuild, while she watched from the street. By morning, I had a plan. Step 1 was easy. I took the day off. Told my boss I had a family emergency. He offered to send flowers. I told him to save the bouquet for my divorce hearing. While Linda was in the shower, I grabbed her laptop. Not to snoop. I'd already done enough discovering. I just needed a document. She'd forgotten to close it the night before. It was her Veritas pitch deck. A half-finished PDF with both our names in the footer. L&J Branding Collective. That's what she'd called it. The arrogance of including my name without asking. That's what did it. I emailed the file to myself, deleted the file, and wiped her browser history. Nothing malicious. Just enough to make sure she wouldn't realize what I'd done until it was too late. She came down after her shower, towel-wrapped and humming like a woman who hadn't just been exposed the night before. That's the thing about people like Linda, they recenter fast. I think she figured that since I hadn't thrown her suitcase out the window, she'd already won. She kissed my cheek like she was still entitled to, then made herself a smoothie. I acted like I didn't notice. Step 2? Bank. I called the branch directly. Told them I wanted to remove Linda from the joint account. The guy on the line gave the usual runaround until I told him I was reporting potential forgery and misrepresentation of income using my identity. That changed his tone fast. He asked if I wanted to file a report. I said not yet, but I needed her access frozen. He complied. By the time Linda finished her kale coconut experiment in the blender, her debit card was just plastic. Then I drove to my friend Dave's place, a guy who used to do freelance copywriting and knew a thing or two about branding pitches. I gave him the file I pulled from Linda's laptop. Told him I wanted to leak it. Leak it to who? Dave asked. To Kyle's new firm. Dave blinked. Damn. See, here's the thing. Kyle had jumped ship from Veritas, but he hadn't gone solo. He joined a mid-tier firm with strict non-compete clauses and poaching policies. The kind that get you sued if you're found moonlighting side projects under your new employer's nose, especially if your new business shares a client base. Linda's little L&J branding collective deck? It included half a dozen former Veritas clients, one of whom was still technically under a retainer agreement. If Kyle's new firm got wind of that, let's just say they'd think twice before letting him lead another campaign. I didn't have to go scorched earth. I just needed to tilt the scales. Dave had a burner contact, a freelancer who ghostwrites pitch decks for firms like Kyle's. Send it to him with a note. Might want to double-check if this violates your policies. That was all I did. By the time I got back home, Linda was pacing in the driveway. On the phone. Loud. Panicked. I walked right past her. What the hell is going on, John? Oh, you'll see, I said. Check your bank app. That should be a fun start. She hung up mid-call. Her face dropped as she pulled out her phone. A few taps in, and she froze. You cut me off? You forged a document using my name to fund a company I never agreed to. Call it a necessary firewall. You can't just freeze the account. I turned around. Watch me. She followed me into the house, her face red now. Not from shame, from inconvenience. That was always her tells. Linda didn't care about being wrong. She cared about being inconvenienced. What am I supposed to do? She asked, her voice sharp now. I have payments due. Then maybe Kyle can cover it. Oh, wait. He might be busy explaining your little startup plan to his legal team. Her jaw clenched. Did you send it? No. Someone else might have. You really shouldn't leave sensitive documents open on shared devices. Linda stood there like she'd been unplugged. Like her battery ran out mid-script. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't gloat. I just walked over to the table, grabbed a small folder, and handed it to her. What's this? She asked, flipping it open. Divorce packet. No lawyers yet. Just the first draft. She skimmed it. You already filed? Of course I did. Her face twisted into something between shock and confusion, the look of someone who thought she had more time. But, John, don't you want to talk about this? No, I said. Talking is for people who tell the truth. She tried to sit down. I took the chair. You plan to leave anyway, I said. This just saves you the trouble. She looked up. That wasn't the plan, not like this. You don't get to design the exit. That's what you forgot. You wrote your little script, your things to say if it comes up, cheat sheet. You planned the betrayal down to the brand colors. But you forgot the part where I get a say in how this ends. I stood. I'm done, Linda. I'm not mad. I'm not hurt. I'm just done. She started to cry then. Maybe out of realization, maybe out of embarrassment, maybe because the plan had slipped out of her hands. I let her. I didn't comfort her. She'd already written that scene in her head too, the part where I come crawling back or crumble into pieces. But I didn't. I left the packet on the counter and walked out. 3 hours later, I got a call from Kyle. Didn't answer. For hours after that, I got a follow-up from Linda. Can we please talk before we do anything irreversible? I didn't reply. The next day, she was gone. Left a note. I didn't read it. Instead, I poured myself a glass of the peach tea she hated and sat on the patio, alone, exactly how I wanted to be. Because revenge isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, efficient, clean. And nothing hurts a control freak more than realizing you outplayed them without ever raising your voice. She showed up on a Thursday. I knew she would. Not because I'm clairvoyant, but because the settlement papers were due Friday. Linda never missed a deadline, especially when there was something to be salvaged on the other side of it. I heard her car before I saw her. That whisper-quiet hybrid she insisted on leasing last fall. Responsible, she'd said. Forward-thinking. The same car she'd probably used to shuttle between Kyle's apartment and our mortgage-funded home while I thought she was working late. She didn't knock right away. She stood on the porch for a minute like she was rehearsing again, probably trying to decide if she should smile or cry. I waited. Let her squirm a little. I didn't have to answer the door. I could have let her stand there, let the weight of the silence remind her of everything she threw away. But I opened it. She was holding a brown envelope. Classic. Neutral. No logos. The kind of thing people bring when they think they're about to look professional while falling apart. John, she said, as if we were still on first-name terms. Linda, can we talk? I didn't say yes. I just opened the door wider and turned away. If she wanted to beg, she could do it to my back. If she wanted to lie again, she'd have to do it knowing I wasn't even giving her eye contact. She stepped inside like a stranger. Hesitated. Took her shoes off like it still mattered. The house had changed since she left. Not dramatically, but enough. Her framed diploma was gone from the hallway, replaced by a print I bought from a street artist downtown. Her throw pillows had vanished from the couch. I'd tossed them in a Goodwill bin. Bright yellow with stupid embroidered quotes like live, laugh, brand. I sat at the dining table. She stood near the edge of the kitchen, unsure if she was allowed to sit. Good. Let her feel the imbalance. I brought the revisions, she said, holding up the envelope. You could have emailed. I thought this deserved a conversation. I waited. She exhaled, placed the envelope on the table, and finally sat across from me. She looked smaller than I remembered. Not physically, emotionally. The posture of someone who no longer held the upper hand. I've been thinking a lot, she started. Dangerous hobby, I said. She didn't bite. About what happened, she continued, and how fast it all collapsed. I guess I underestimated a lot of things. Like me. Her lips pressed together. She nodded. You always seemed so predictable, she said. Safe. Thanks, I replied dryly. Right up there with disposable and familiar. That's not what I meant. I know exactly what you meant. You thought you had me on a shelf. Easy to grab when needed, easy to ignore when not. She flinched, but didn't deny it. I wasn't happy, John. I wasn't either. I just didn't need to burn the whole house down to say so. I didn't plan for it to happen like this. Stop saying that. You keep using that line like it's some moral parachute. You wrote a list, Linda. Bullet points. You planned it to death. She looked away. That part always got her, the list. She probably thought I'd forget. She probably thought it would get lost, like everything else I'd supposedly overlooked. But it didn't. It was seared into my brain like a branding iron. I came here to say I'm sorry. No, you didn't. You came here to make yourself feel better. She blinked. You already got what you wanted, I said. The exit. The partner. The storyline. You just didn't like how the ending played out. So now you want to rewrite. That's not true, isn't it? Because I didn't fall apart? Because I didn't chase you down or send angry emails or torch your reputation? That's not fair. What part of this has been fair, Linda? She went quiet. You lied. You took money. You forged a document using my name. Then you tried to start a new life with someone who had less backbone than a windsock. I didn't know what else to do, she said softly. You do now? We sat in silence. The kind that doesn't stretch, it just settles. Like dust on an unused table. I don't expect forgiveness, she said finally. You're not getting it. I just want, I don't know, peace. You had peace. You used it to cheat on your husband and launch a side hustle. She looked like she wanted to argue. But she didn't. Because she knew I wasn't wrong. She wasn't here to change anything. She just wanted to control the narrative one last time. To shape how I remembered her. She wouldn't get that either. I read the revisions. I said, tapping the envelope. They're fine. You'll get my countersigned copy tomorrow. My lawyer already approved. Okay. Full asset split. No contest. You can keep the lease on your car. You'll need it. She gave a tiny, almost sad smile. You really are good at this. What, revenge? No. Walking away. That one hit harder than I thought it would. Not because it wasn't true. Because it was. Here's the difference between us, I said. You walk away from things when they get boring. I walk away when they get toxic. And you? You went radioactive. She nodded. That was the first honest thing she did all afternoon. She stood, slowly, like she was waiting for some last-minute invitation to stay. None came. Is there anything else you want to say? She asked. Yeah, I said. You were right. She raised an eyebrow. I was predictable. I made it easy. I did all the emotional heavy lifting while you drifted in and out like a tourist. I didn't mean. But you know what? That stops now. I'm done being your fallback plan. Your placeholder. Your plan B with a utility bill. She didn't speak. Go start your agency, I said. Go build your brand. But don't ever include me in your story again. You lost that privilege. She gave the smallest nod, like her neck was the only part of her still functioning. Then she walked to the door. Didn't ask for a hug. Didn't turn back for a final look. Just left. Quietly. I listened to the car start. Engine hummed. Tires rolled away. And just like that, she was out of my life. I stood in the hallway for a long time after, looking at the bare wall where her framed diploma used to hang. I didn't feel sad. I felt done. Because not every ending needs closure. Sometimes it just needs a lock. And I just changed mine. 3 weeks after she left, I repainted the living room. Not because I was moving on or needed a symbolic reset. I just finally noticed how ugly that greenish-gray wall color was. I think she called it sage mist, or something else you only learn about if you subscribe to lifestyle magazines or listen to interior design podcasts. I hated it. Always had. But I never said anything, because marriage is full of those little silent agreements. Let them pick the wall color. Let them name the throw pillows. Pretend that chamomile tea actually tastes like something. That's what it's like being married to someone like Linda. You lose 100 tiny arguments you never even knew you were having. But now, I win by default. The sage mist is gone. The new color? Just paint. No trendy name. Just something simple that doesn't lie about what it is. Kind of like me now. Most people assume that getting cheated on is loud. That it comes with screaming, plates breaking, doors slamming. Maybe that's true for other folks. For me, it was quieter. Like hearing a window break in the middle of the night and realizing the house has been empty for a while. You didn't notice it when it happened, but now you're standing in the cold and the door doesn't feel like yours anymore. I didn't tell many people what happened. Not because I'm ashamed, but because the explanations take too long and most people just want to hear a villain and a victim. They want something clean. Easy. She was bad. I was good. The end. But real life doesn't write itself that neatly. Linda wasn't always a liar. And I wasn't always this calm. The truth is, we started fine. We had years that worked. Vacations. Family events. Road trips where we'd fight about music and then stop at some hole-in-the-wall diner that served food hot enough to burn the roof of your mouth. We had comfort. Routine. The kind of love that coasts, which sounds good until it quietly dies on you. That's the part no one tells you. Sometimes betrayal doesn't show up in a red dress or leave lipstick on a collar. Sometimes it wears pajamas, says good night, and sits beside you while Googling flights to someone else's city. Linda didn't cheat because she was desperate. She cheated because she could. Because I made life too easy for her. I took care of everything and expected honesty in return. What I got was a staged breakup rehearsed like a company merger. I think that's what stung most, the choreography, the sheer professionalism of the whole thing. I wasn't her partner by the end. I was a colleague she was about to exit the partnership with on good terms. If she could have sent me a termination letter on company letterhead, she probably would have. So yeah, I repainted the living room. But that's not the only thing that changed. I also removed her name from the house deed. That was a fun conversation with the title company. The lady on the phone kept asking, "Are you sure?" And I said, if I was any more sure, I'd frame the paperwork. I changed the locks, the Wi-Fi password, the emergency contacts on everything from my phone plan to my dental records. Because the truth is, when someone lies to you like that, builds an entire future behind your back, you start scrubbing every trace of their access like they were malware. I even changed the Netflix profile she used. Deleted her favorites. Her stupid documentaries about minimalist parenting and overpriced Scandinavian furniture. Replaced them with dumb action movies and a sitcom about firefighters who solve crimes. Petty? Maybe. Satisfying? Absolutely. The house feels quieter now, but not in a lonely way. It's like the walls finally stopped pretending. Some nights I sit on the back patio, same chair, same awful peach tea, and watched the neighbors walk their dogs. Linda used to hate this patio. Said the bugs made her feel exposed. Funny, considering how much time she spent lying to me under the safety of that roof. She hasn't reached out again. Not since the day she dropped off the final signed documents. I got a one-line email from her. Thank you for being civil. Civil. That's what she took from all this. Not regret. Not remorse. Just the fact that I didn't torch her life on the way out. She probably tells herself that means we ended on good terms. Let her believe that. People like Linda need to rewrite the narrative to make peace with themselves. They need to believe it was mutual, inevitable, something that just happened. They can't face the fact that they broke something just because they were bored and thought they could get away with it. But me? I'm not rewriting anything. She cheated. She lied. She used my name and my money to build a life that didn't include me. And I let her walk out the door without a single shout. Just paperwork and silence. That's the part that'll haunt her. Not because she still loves me, but because she lost control of the ending. She thought she was directing the story. She forgot I could write, too. So here's my epilogue. No swelling music, no tearful reunion. Just a man in a freshly painted house, sleeping fine at night, waking up without checking to see who else he needs to be for someone else's convenience. I still keep the list she wrote. Things to say if it comes up. It's folded in the drawer with my passport. Not out of sentiment, just as a reminder. A reminder that sometimes, the smartest thing you can do isn't forgive or fight back. Sometimes, you just walk out of the burning building without a scratch, and make sure they're the one holding the match. Subscribe to the channel